Okay, so
I like that new little notification, recording in progress.
exactly. So for those of you who are not here live today, which is most of the class, unfortunately, again today, not unfortunately, I mean, it doesn't matter to Terry Lynn or me whether you're here live or you watch it later. It's all good. But basically that means people who are here live though pretty much have a little private class, so that's great. So I mean, it's great, I guess, from our perspective, because then we can really, or Terry Lynn can really, mold, is it the right word? I don't know. Match you whatever you need today. But it will be fairly small, and we'll also put Pam and Donna on the spot more, but maybe that's okay. You guys feel comfortable with Terry Lynn, and you don't feel, and me, and don't feel put on the spot. But
Pam, if you disappeared, or you just off screen?
No, I just had to pull my pants up.
Oh, well, okay. Well, thank you for putting the screen out. Then probably that's great. I love that you're comfortable enough to share that information with us, though, Pam. That's cool.
I love it. I love it.
Better than doing what some people did on Zoom.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's right. What's his name? Jeffrey Toobin.
Oh, I didn't even hear that, but I can just guess what he did.
Yeah, I'm not even going to repeat it. He thought the video was off.
Oh, jeez. Oh, geez. Crazy. Anyway, I would not expect any of the people who sign up for my workshops to do that, regardless of whether the video was on or off. I don't know what he did exactly, but I can just imagine.
Right.
Anyway, so any questions for me before I, yes, question, Pam Brown.
It's not a question. It's just I'm multitasking, so I'm going to be kind of in and out if I stop my video.
Okay.
Because I had to run and do something else.
I understand.
That's okay. That's one of the reasons that I do my stop video too. I'm over here doing other things, but I'm listening in case Terry Lynn needs me or you need me.
Yeah, Pam, if you'd remind us about 11, just to take a quick little break would be nice too. I like that.
Okay, I will set my timer to do that, and that way I will not forget. So, all right, ladies. Well, without further ado, I'm going to stop my video, but I will be here, and you guys have fun.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Oh, look at her with a little goat. Love it. So, any questions from last week while we're right here? Right off? No. Why are you thinking? Like what we went over last week, and you got the sheets for this week, which how many times I've been to my daughter's house, which is a half hour away. I didn't get to print it out. So I have my iPad, so I'll show those on there if we need to use that. Today we're going to go over like more a little bit about perspectives. So we can draw houses or interiors, things like that. There was also a question about how to hold your pencil. And I know we talked about this at the beginning, but I want to just kind of, let me grab a cheap piece of paper, cover real quickly. It's nice if you can hold your pencil kind of just however loosely in your hand, instead of like the writing like this. It's nice if you can, because this will help you get looser and you employ your whole arm. I'm not really pointing, I'm just kind of holding it however it's comfortable. You could hold it like this or anything. And then sometimes for details, for more control, I do go to the writing way of holding my drawing implement. Next week, I'll be back in Asheville and I'll have my full easel and studio set up. So I want to kind of show you. For me, it's hard drawing on a flat surface. I'm not used to it anymore. So if you have any questions, that's kind of how I hold my pencil, and it works for charcoal and stuff too. And if I want to loosen up my paintings or drawings even more, sometimes I'll use my other hand, my opposite hand. So if you're right-handed, use your left hand. If you're left-handed, you can use your right hand. So that's kind of some options to do. And that'll be, if you want control, it's not going to work as much, but it also helps to engage both sides of our brain. And that's going to make our paintings and our work more creative. All right. So I wanted to go over a couple items that people had put up on Padlet. So Jean here, this is a nice thing about this is because you can share drawings and things and we can kind of talk about them. So here's a sketch from the beginning. She did some of those basics shapes. Here's the house that she did from one of those houses I had. And what I've done below this is done some lines over it on my iPad and posted it, and I'll show you the difference. That's quite good. It's kind of a tricky angle of the house because of the way it's looking. Here's her chair. She also got this in perspective. Remind me to show you that really quickly. We talked about those legs and things before. And here's her, so you can click on these ones and you can look at close-ups of people. So she's actually given herself 1, 2, 3 steps, which this is not really the one is this, the 2 of the lines going off, and then the 3 would be that vertical line. So here, from her first sketch, I just did a quick once over. When I looked carefully at this, I could see that she had thought through she hadn't just drawn the outline. You could lightly see her lines of sketching here. So you can see she's thinking 3-dimensionally and more form than just an outline. And that's good. So I said that because she wasn't going to be here today. And then here in that house drawing, the photo I have of that particular house is not really clear. It's a very simple, I did that on purpose to keep it simple. There are some hidden angles in here. There's actually here is a porch that comes out. So if you're live or you're doing your own photographs for reference, you can study that and know that ahead of time and make little notes in your sketchbook like, oh, here's an angle. This is a porch angle. She had left this side just kind of flat, but because of this angle, there is a little hint of that side showing. She still did a very good job with it. But you can see she's trying to get that angle that's supposed to match this angle here because they're in the same, they're parallel in reality and heading off in the same direction. And that's a bit tricky. Let me see if I can find.
Carrie Lynn, I have to step away for just a minute. I'll be right
Okay.
back.
Yep. So that's not on that sketch, but if you do use the Padlet, and this is, I can give you some little ideas and I can respond even after the class is done. I do get a notification, but you know how when you get 100 notifications, you don't always notice. So if you put something up, let me know so I can double check it. Jean's been doing things on her own. After she watches the videos, you can see her slight corrections. She's really doing a good job. I wish I could go from one to the other on this. Her proportions and stuff, if you look at that original photo that I had sent, are really good. She's measured very well. I think you can see this was a little higher and she brought it down just a touch. I'm not sure. I think it is still a little higher. And then her shape, she has like these almost abstract shapes of shadows, but she's thinking about how that circle, like if you took a light and shone it right down on an apple, your shadow would be a circle. But because we're looking at it in an angle, and remember how we put those angles into perspective, she's thinking about that. If you don't, oh, you can't see because it's a screen share, isn't it? Is that all you can see? You can't, can you folks see the people on the side? Donna, can you see the class on the gallery? No, you can't. I'll show you now. So remind me that.
I see you.
Yeah, right here. If it's on gallery, remember we put it in a box, you put the square in perspective, dissect it, and then that helps you figure out what the shape of this oval is because it's laying flat on the surface of the table. This was very good. And again, she's looking carefully, really, really looking and remeasuring. You can see she's remeasured. Don't be afraid of these lines at all. This was good. I made some extra comments, not that she had done it wrong at all, but it just as an illustration to other people too, that, oh, I'll show you this one. I'll show you that. Nice, right? See how she's looking and changing it, because at first it wasn't quite right. She made that effort to change. Really nice from that picture. So here, whoops, where'd that go? Why is it not opening? There it is. This was really good because this is right at your horizon line. So if you look down into the cup, you would see the circle. And we talked about this kind of with that lighthouse drawing. But if it's your eye level, that circle is going to be a flat line, just a straight, like with your horizon. Then as you start heading down on your picture plane, here's your straight line of the horizon. You'll get a very slight curve there of that, you know, as it goes. You have the circle, you're looking at it straight. As it goes down, you get a little bit more of a curve. And then here you get even a bit of a more of a curve. So because of her drawing of that, I just wanted to point that out. Which she did here. She's got a nice little curve here. It's like it was forgotten here, but it's very slight. She almost tried. It's very slight there.
Mm-hmm.
But when I started measuring, she not only like where each object touched the other object to, you know, where to figure out where to put the lines and things. And then also double check your, what we call negative space. If you ignore the object, what is the shape of this in between? And that will be a double check, like a confirmation if you have the things in the right shape, like this negative shape here. See the side of that box? So between all of these objects, it has an interesting shape. So, and I think that's it on this. That's kind of like, that would be like a little critique. We get together, we talk about some of the works and stuff, and that's kind of what that.
Carrie Lynn,
Yes, ma'am.
I cannot draw a circle to save my life. Is there any?
No.
I'm having such a hard time with it. It's always misshapen. And
Yeah.
are there any little pearls for how to draw a circle? Any?
For me, I'll kind of show you what I do. No,
Okay.
there's no real pearls. Circles
Okay.
are tricky, like straight lines are tricky,
Mhm.
right? One thing about a circle is because you have this fulcrum of the way your hand works,
Mhm.
like either your elbow, I'm working off the elbow here.
Mhm.
So I will do, again, I kind of draw in the air. And when I feel I'm kind of close, I'll set my pencil down and kind of hope. But see, it's still a little wonky and a lot
Yeah.
of practice. And
Okay.
then what I can do is I can go back to my writing, and I'm still backing off on the pencil a bit. And just kind of where it's comfortable, whoops, do some curves
Mhm.
to define it. And because this is not natural, I will turn my paper
Right.
and I can see it's a little
Okay.
flat there. So I'll just go, oh, I'm just going to adjust that a little bit more. But most
Okay.
of it's just practice. Does that help?
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So if you have a cup sitting on this or an apple and your light's above and that's your shadow, to put this shadow back in perspective, like we did here and like she was doing on her still life, and you can do it at different angles, you would first draw, this is my horizon line, just really quickly. And I'm going to start as if I had a, you know, a square. So everything's going back on the vanishing point. So what I'm looking at right now is I'm going to make a square that this circle is sitting in.
Oh, okay.
All right. So I've got my vanishing point back there. I'm going to bring it down. So this square is now in perspective. You see that? This is the square set back in space.
Mhm.
Now I'm going to dissect it diagonally first. And this is not going to be perfect because I'm doing it quickly. The center of your square here is in the center of this square. Makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The squares in the center. So now because it's in perspective and we've done this diagonal dissection, you can see that it's not the same distance there.
Mhm.
Right? See how there's more space here than there. But that is definitely the middle of the
Okay,
square,
right.
because we've done the geometry. And now just slowly, we just start kind of considering the curve that's going to fit like, from here to here, that curve and that curve. I'm going to put it in lightly at first. I'm going to turn my paper over because it's easier that way. That's one thing you can't really do on an easel, although I do that. And again, I do it lightly a few times till it feels about right. And then I can come in and define it a little better. So there I can see the shape of that circle. And it gives, you know, it's in space a little bit now. So now I know if it's sitting down and there's a cup on top of it, that the shadow will be an ellipse.
Okay.
And you do this a few times and it helps you learn, but then after a while, it's in our heads and we can employ it that way. Pamela.
Yeah. So I don't know how you got from where you were to, so we know the shadow will be an ellipse.
Say again.
I don't know. I mean, you were doing the drawing of the circle and then you said, and so we know the shadow will be an ellipse. How do we know that?
Because here's our square, right?
Uh-huh.
And we put the circle in the square and this is looking straight on at it.
Yeah.
Now we're going to set it back in space. So this is a separate picture, but then this is a separate piece of paper. So I'm getting my horizon line back here. Remember, that's our vanishing point.
Yeah.
And I brought a line that's close to me. And then I've connected this dot and this dot of that square is this line right here.
Mm-hmm.
So I connect the corners of those back to the vanishing point. And that's going to give me the angle of these two sidelines, this
Okay.
and this.
Okay.
Okay, and then estimating that. And then by dissecting it, then I can see that it's an ellipse. So if I do it,
Oh, okay. So you can see that within the triangle, it's an ellipse. So the shadow will be an ellipse.
yes, because
Okay.
a cup sitting on top, it's a circle, but when you look at it at a different angle, and then if it's really dramatic. Or let's say, sorry, I got a better idea. If it's really dramatic, you still do the same process. You dissect it. There's the curve. This is going to be really elongated because it has to come to the center of that. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's not great, but it's going to be longer and thinner because it's sitting flatter.
Mhm.
What's that going to do?
Terry
Also,
Lynn,
yes, ma'am.
do you actually do this when you draw?
Not so much anymore. And because it's in my head, I've done it so many times, you practice it and it's in your head. So then I know if, say if I have a cup
What you doing?
here, sitting on my table.
Yeah.
How is that looking? That's looking okay. I'm not
That's
going to
good.
draw the handle or anything. So,
Bottom, right.
yeah, and it's sitting on a table and say the light is coming from this direction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know it's sitting on a table and the light comes down, glances off the corner of that. And then it comes from this direction because usually there's a single light source, so it spreads out slightly. And it also will come down here. So I know that the base, that my shadow is going to be from here to here. Because the light is being blocked by this, and the light here is being blocked by this edge.
Oh.
So that's how the shadow is going to be out there. Then, see, normally I will just say, okay, now I know because it's sitting way down in space that my shadow is going to be an ellipse there. And I usually eyeball it, you're right. But there is a way, actually, you can. What happens now is the square is now also in perspective off to the side. I'm making this very complicated and I don't want to do that. So basically, if it's sitting down, you can see there's going to be an ellipse.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Because you can actually see it as she did in her drawing. If the cup, if you were looking straight down on the cup, of course, and the
Okay.
light was coming at a slight angle, the shadow is actually a circle. But because the shadow is sitting back in space, you can put it in a square to get that.
Yeah,
amount.
that totally makes sense. Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. All right.
I see we have another student. Donna, did the kitty pay for a seat?
Zoe was just hoping to observe.
Okay, gotcha.
She's
Okay.
actually not going to draw today.
You know, I do have a book at the studio called Cats That Paint. So you never know about the drawing ability.
I've seen that.
I
Yeah,
think I
like that.
know. She might be better than me, actually.
Oh, I doubt that.
Pamela, did you get to practice any of these sketches we did from last week or anything, or it's
Well,
summer, you know?
Okay, here's a confession. We're trying to help our daughter find a place to live, either a house or an apartment in
Okay.
Charlotte. And it's a bit of a nightmare.
Mm.
So I haven't had a lot of extra time.
Oh, yeah, no apologies. I
Especially, I mean, there are multiple, you know, houses are getting like multiple offers, and
Mm.
it's, if you haven't experienced this, it's like the gold rush.
Mm.
right, no, right now, even up here in Maine,
Unbelievable.
it's just everything's going for much more than what the asking
Oh,
price
it's
is.
unreal. So, I mean, I
Crazy.
can show you, you know, I've done some.
Oh, you
Oh.
did some shading too. I was going to cover shading next week. Wait, hold up. Let me spotlight you. Oh, did Pam do it? Look at that. She's faster than I am. Yeah. Nice.
So, I mean, I haven't been a terrible student, but I haven't had the time, you know, that I would have liked. So I'm grateful for the
understand.
recordings.
Yeah, I think, and then you can go back and use them later. Your box got
Yeah, it did.
just a little
Wonky. as you
wonky.
say. Yeah, there's a wonky box.
Yes.
Mm.
And unless you were doing this and kind of copying my mistake, not copying it, but writing it down. Because then you know from this corner that it has to go that way as that.
Right. And that's the piece I'm still learning, Terry Lynn. I mean, math was always really hard for me. So
Mm.
I think this is I'm very left-brained.
Well, it's like
So it's
algebra.
hard for me to see physical stuff,
Yeah.
you know, so I'm just going to have to really work at it instead of clinging to the illusion that I can just pick up a pencil and it's.
Well, I'm giving you
what I
the
see.
foundational stuff and you can go away from that. You can go more abstract if you want to.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Just kind of gives you a foundation to work on. So I think we've practiced on that. Next week, I want to work on some shading. Oh, I wanted to show you the that chair. I'm trying to remember where my picture of the chair went. Was that at the beginning? Does anyone remember?
Yes. Yeah, that was the first class for sure. It was right after the lamps
Yeah.
and
I
the
don't
fruit.
know if I have that on this. Oh, good. Now how do I get out of this? Sorry, I'm looking at something on my screen and I can't. Oh, there we go. Anyway, let me show a quick sketch of how to, because people ask this, that I don't want add spotlight, I want remove spotlight.
Oh, okay. You're good. You got what you need?
Yes, thanks. How do we put, I mean, that's kind of a quick review we did. How do we put the chair? Remember some people were doing that chair
Mhm.
in space and get the legs in the right spot.
Mm.
I think we were talking about that. And who did that? It was Jean Carpin, I think. There's her chair. Okay. So this, I mean, we had talked about how to do that. How do you know where to put these back legs? So on here, if you have a cube, right? here's our line that's perpendicular. Here's our vertical line. That's the front of that cube. And it's going back in space. Let's say our horizon line's up here. And I'm just going to do, again, this rather quickly. And I'm going to put this one faster so I can keep it on the paper. Right? Parallel lines go to the same vanishing point. So anything parallel to these guys is going back here. Anything parallel to this one is going back there. Then we talked last week about how to measure that distance, or was that the week before? I'm not sure. So there's one side and then there's another side. We'll just say that. So parallel to this, and to this one. Parallel this, and this one. So there's our box. And what we can put in here, like we did, we put the houses in here, we can put a chair in here, we can do anything. Say we're going to put the chair in, and this is the level of the seat. Because this side is parallel to these lines, it's going to go back to that same vanishing point there. And the same on this side, it's going to go back to the vanishing point. And this is going to be a funny looking chair, and then we have a vertical line going down here. And this back leg, because we're drawing through the box again, you guys have done a really good job on your cubes. That goes back there. That's the line behind in the box. Well, it's not going to show the leg. It's going to disappear. Okay. So I'm going to pretend there's a chair here anyway. And this is one leg. This is one leg. These are the arms of the chair. There's the arms. And this we decided was the seat of the chair. Where does this one go? That intersects there. It's also parallel to that, so it goes back there. And this goes back here.
Wow.
So you can see the seat of that chair. This is, wow, it's a really tall back, but you get the idea. So now we know this leg, and we have this leg. So where does that back leg go? Well, you have the intersection point right there. So it's actually tells you right where it is. Doesn't show much in my little drawing, but do you make that sense? Does that make sense? If I can talk. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
what
it
she
does.
did with this chair. So let me do a quick annotate, quick line. So you can see this, what she has actually under here should be, it's a little off, from there, but there's the base of that cube. And this line and this line should all go to the same vanishing point, and same here. You can see it's a little bit off. This one should be down parallel to this. It's hard. So this one should actually be up a little higher. You see what I'm saying? So this leg should be a little bit higher because the leg line should be parallel to this line. Let me put that down. So that front line and that front leg line should be parallel. And the same with this back of the chair and that. So that's how you set it in that cube, and you can find where the legs go. I wonder if I can erase. I don't know if I can. No, it erases my lines. Again, just a little tool that will help you. Any questions? Okay. Let me think. So then maybe today we'll practice a little bit on our houses and our cubes. And what they are they're cubes in perspective, as we've just done. and we apply it to objects. I am now going to screen share. See if I can do it this way. Yeah. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I'm sorry. So let me go over a couple rules of perspective while we're here. There we go. And I've lost my screen. There you all are. All right. So we talked about our vanishing point, and our vanishing point is always at our eye level. If it's up here, that's where the horizon will be. And the vanishing point is always on the horizon line. If you go down lower, that's going to affect your point of view. So it's going to adjust the way you're seeing things with your vanishing point. So you can see, just like we did with the cube, they started with the front line. And then there's a way to divide this. This is just dissecting for how, see how they get closer together as well as smaller as they go in the distance? I would just use that, dissecting the square each time again. So to get a single vanishing point like this, let me do that for you quickly. You would have, here's my horizon line. The railroad tracks is one of the most common that you see of this. So here, say, is our front, and we've kind of just eyeballed our front line. And then we can say the next line back, we go like, oh, that's about, remember how we use the closest thing as our unit of measure. So I'm going to say the next one is about a quarter of that distance back. So there's a quarter of my distance. I'm going to go a quarter of my distance back because I've eyeballed that. There's my second tie, railroad tie. Then you can dissect it. You know where the center is. Then we can, I'm going to try to keep this simple. It is mathematical, but let's keep it simple. Say the next railroad tie is about that same distance from the middle of this to that, for that one. And that's going to be our second railroad tie. And then we can dissect to find the middle of that. There's the center of that next line. I hope you can follow what I'm doing. We're going to say that again is the next distance here to the next one. So you can see these are already getting closer together as you go back in space. And again, you can dissect that line right there. So the next one comes up. See how they start getting closer as they go back. So that is how we are working with this. That's the simplest. Now we can also do the same thing as if we are inside a room, which is very common. So we have our vanishing point. Say we're standing, you can see that we're at this height at the windows. That's our horizon line. Our vanishing point this time is a little off center. Instead of right stab in the middle of our, like this one was right in the middle of our point of view. This one's off center a little bit. F is just focal point. That's our vanishing point. Then if we eyeball, as we did on the cube, one of these angles, I would try to ignore all these lines, sorry, but this angle right here looks like it's about 45 degrees. So let me grab that again. Okay. So we can see from here, oh, that's not the type of line I want. I want the straight line. I thought I did that. Okay. Right? So it's about 45 degrees. That, because it intersects with that horizon line, now we have our vanishing point. And then anything else is going to, all of these lines, because we're inside a cube now, we are inside the cube and the vanishing point is in the distance. All of the lines like where the floor meets the wall, where the ceiling meets the wall, all would come to that same vanishing point here. That's the ceiling. The top of the door, because it's parallel to the floor and the ceiling. The windows. See how they all work together to go to that same vanishing point. And then you can do the halving thing again with the windows as you go back. If I go to the next picture, that stays there, doesn't it?
Yeah, remember you couldn't remove them last time?
I know. Clear. Clear my drawings. Okay, yay. Okay, I'm getting this. You can do the same thing with figures in space. By knowing, again, as we did with the chair, fit them into your vanishing point, like a little cube or something. And you can see as they go back in the distance, they're all standing on the ground. So their feet, everyone's feet is on the ground, and that would start anybody standing in this line, like see this guy up front and this guy up back, their feet are on the same level. And let's say their heads are the same level. And by using that vanishing point, you can see that the person in the distance is much smaller in perspective. It creates that wonderful illusion of depth and space. We did the cube, and
That was
again,
a particularly cool thing, because I don't think Terry Lynn, you showed that one in the other class with the peoples.
nope, people says no,
Yeah, that's really interesting.
but just showing that you can apply these concepts to anything, you know, as you're going back.
Yeah.
We've done the cube. Again, if you wanted to do a peoples, as Pam says, you know, you could have a person. This is really hard with a mouse. Let's say they're standing at the front of the cube here. There's a person standing the cup. And then there's somebody back here too. Whoop. And he's standing back there, except better than that. One of these days, I'm going to figure out how to get my iPad to, because I can draw on my iPad easier than on this. So if I had another cube back there, he would fit within that. But you can see that they're smaller. Okay, that's not working as well as I thought. But right, you can fit anything in there. You can fit a number of things. So that's our 2 points perspective. We had, again, why is this still? Don't get discouraged by this. I'm just giving you some general ideas. You don't always have to measure it out every time. Just so you know, as things get further back, they get closer together and they get smaller, being based on the rules of perspective. So that's 1 point. Yes.
These are great slides. Can we, I don't, do you
Yeah.
usually send these out?
I can, what I have to do is I put them in a doc and make that into a PDF, and then I can send them out. Yes.
But these ones with the vanishing point,
Yeah.
at least these 3 that we've been focusing on, those
Yeah.
are so helpful.
If I send them out, I mean, I can send them individually. It just takes more space on an email, but
Yeah.
whatever way, I can do that too.
Thank you.
These are called 1 point perspective because everything's going down to 1 point. This is 2 point perspective. We have a vanishing point off to the side that way, and we have a vanishing point off to the side over here. But they would still both be on that horizon line. Another way, we did this, we worked on the cubes last week, looking down on a still life. But what if we are on a street and we're standing, and this is a building, and say we're a small person, we're standing right here. That is, our vanishing point is going to change, right? It's going to come down with us. And well, it's going to end up looking like, now this is complex, but if you look at this simply, you can see that we have our line that perpendicular to our line of sight. We're looking at it this way. That's the line perpendicular. We start the same way. We estimate this angle here. And we know that our eyesight is, where's our eyesight? I'm double checking this drawing. I think it's right about here. So I think this is our horizon. Yeah, that makes sense. How do I define that? Because this angle, see how it's going up a little bit to the horizon, those lines, and this one's going down slightly. So I'm pretty sure our horizon line's right there. So we estimate this angle off to the horizon line, right? We estimated this angle. And the same with this. We estimate this angle and that goes off to that horizon line. Now we know that anything in this area, any line that is in reality parallel to this line, like the base of the buildings, has to go to that same vanishing point over there.
Okay.
This is our eye level right here. So I'm just going to estimate. This is the corner of that building, like we did with the block. And instead of looking down on it, we're partly looking down at the base and looking up at the top. But because in reality, ignore the windows and the doors and stuff. This is a cube right here, right? We have this side of the cube and we have this side of the cube. So we know that any line parallel to this of that cube in reality is going back to the same vanishing point. From the tip top down to that same vanishing point. And the same on the other side. That means all the windows go back to that vanishing point, right? You can go back and back and back. So see how it all fits in. This same with the next building. So you just draw one little cube at a time and you're going to have your buildings. This building's a little bit taller. So we start up here. Now it's more dramatic because the vanishing point is down here. We need to bring that down. And then the same on all these other lines. This gets pretty complex. Is that pretty much based on our cube? Is that making sense so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
relax with it. I mean, use it and don't go crazy at this point. Bit by bit, you can learn. Like when I was in college, we had to do so many of these and they got really complex. I want to clear that and go to the next. Here's another good example. Hello. Oh, sorry, I have my other. This is a nice one because remember that any vertical line has to stay vertical. And this person is very clear about that. This is more an architectural drawing. But again, the same. Anything parallel to this line here goes off that way. And it's drawn very nicely. That one's drawn really well that you can see well. Here's the situation. I just want to introduce this. I'm not expecting this from you, but because what we did just now was this. Let me get that. We did basically this, right? We did a cube. We estimated the angle. Here's perpendicular to our line of sight because our line of sight is coming in this way. We estimate this angle off to the vanishing point. And it's a roof now, so we have to go from here to here, just in the cube. And that's going to give us the corner of this roof line and the corner of this roof line. Again, perpendicular has to stay perpendicular, straight up and down. And then there's a vanishing point off this way as well that tells us where that roof line is. That is one of them. So these you have to treat each individually. When we were doing our boxes, that would be like this one. We were looking totally down on it. Perpendicular to our line of sight. There's that front corner. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Now, even though this one is at a different angle, it's still going to the same vanishing point back here.
Mm.
And the same with this one. It's still going to go back there. Because even in this little birdhouse, it is parallel to that. And same here, but this time we're looking up at it, right? So you can do this from multiple angles. But instead of us moving up and down, like once you have your horizon line, you keep that. But things can be above us, we can be looking up at them, or things can be below us and looking down at them. Now, just to introduce this one, I'm not going to expect you to do this at all. I grabbed this picture. Oh, I still have my drawing tool. I'm sorry. This is what we call three-point perspective. And what happens is this is with like lighthouses or really tall buildings that even though they're straight up and down on the sides, as they go up into space, there's a third vanishing point up there. So in this sense, and don't worry about this, but I just wanted, so in the future, someday, what happened? That flipped back on me, I'm sorry. Okay. Here's our base. We estimate that angle. Obviously, we're right about here because wherever our eye level is, actually, I think it's down here, is where the horizon line is going to be. And anything that's on that horizon line is going to be a straight line. But as we go up the side of the building, doop, 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 I don't know, somewhere up here, right? Because this is a skyscraper. Then at each intersection, those still have to go down to that vanishing point. And the same on the other side. So we have 1 point over here, 1 point over here. And here we have this third point up here because it's so dramatically going away from us up, that's there. So let's say we have figured out, like we do with our cube, right? This is a cube. Normally it would be perpendicular. This is a one case where it is not perpendicular. Is it so high that anything parallel, like the sides of the building that are normally perpendicular, are now vanishing off into the distance up high. So we can see that from this corner, and that would show that anything, okay, I didn't get my vanishing point in the same place he did. I apologize on that. I think his is down further, so. But do you understand? So but that's rarely used. That's only in very extreme cases that you use that. I think his vanishing point's right about there. That makes more sense. But how often do we draw skyscrapers? You know, we really don't that much. Any questions on that? I've given you an overview, but the one we would work on the most is this one, right? That 2 point where our eye level's right about here. So that's basically what we use the most, either outside a building or inside the building. But that's 2 point perspective. Did I start
We're not seeing your.
I'm sorry, you're right. I lost my screen share.
Here you
This
go.
2 point perspective on the outside, or this 2 point perspective on the inside? I mean, 1 point perspective on the inside, right? This is the most common. So we're going to try a little bit of that if you guys are ready. Did that go away now? It did, didn't it?
Yeah.
Good. Because I closed it. And I am looking for my other.
Hey. Stop that. No.
Do. Searching. Oh, I think I closed it. No, there it is. All right. I used to have to do all of this with the projectors and things, so. All right, now we have houses that we can practice drawing, right? I sent you these. I try to find as simple ones as I can. The reason I turn them into black and white is because otherwise, initially, we get very distracted by the color. And what we're looking for initially is the form. The form of an object has to be nice and solid three-dimensionally.
Do you know when did you send those, Terry Lynn?
This week,
Was it, oh, did it come from you or Pam?
it came through Pam.
Hmm.
It should have been in the, right, it was soon after the last one, so maybe on that Thursday. I can resend again. Let me go find them. Pam, do you have them?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, let me go see what that email.
But that's probably because I didn't look.
It's hard. You ladies are doing well. I mean, considering it's summer and it's hard.
Yeah. Oh, I've got the 3D forms. I don't see the houses.
Did you get these?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't send the houses yet, Pam. Maybe that's for this week.
Well,
You know what? That's right. I just went and looked. So we lied to you, Donna, and everybody else out there that's watching this. Yeah, I swear I saw some with houses. I'm gonna go look to see the attachment we sent the previous week. So let me go see.
Yeah, I might have considered sending it after this.
I like to print them out.
I do too, but I didn't. So now I put them on my iPad. So this is part of your video. All right. So let me stop the screen share and I'm gonna, no, actually I'm gonna do it. No, I am gonna stop my screen share.
Okay, you guys, you actually do have them. They are, we sent them out the week before this one. And I can either send them again, or if you still have that email, it was dated 6/21 at 6:12 p.m. Do you want me to send it again?
6/21. Oh, draw a house.
Yes.
Yeah, there they are.
Yes. Okay, do you both have them?
I don't know how to look at the same time I'm on Zoom.
Okay. Okay, well, rest assured that they are sitting in your box there, but how can you use them today is the question.
Okay, let me see if I can do it.
Well, I can keep it up on this screen. With that, I can do that. Because it is, I mean, I'm doing a lot of instruction rather quickly. It's good to practice on your own, of course, when you get a chance.
Oh, and you know what, Terry Lynn? It's almost 11 o'clock. Maybe you can take your break and then.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
All right.
That
sounds good.
Okay, so everyone, it's on the 6/21 email. And for those of you who are on the recording, I'm going to stop pause the recording for just a moment so you don't have to watch our empty spaces here. So we'll be back in a minute.
Yeah,
Okay, so
Right.
I just resumed
So-
the video.
again,
Okay.
here she comes. So please don't get discouraged with this. I'm giving you tools. You can go back and watch the video again. If you have any questions, ask me. If you keep these concepts in the back of your head when you're drawing, you go like, oh, that looks like, if your box looks a little wonky. Now you know, oh, it's probably because I didn't keep the
Horizon
parallel
lines.
lines all converging at the same vanishing point. And then you can go back and check it. But these are tools for you to use. Next week, we're going to get into, I believe, shading. Once we have a nice solid three-dimensional form, how are we going to shade that to make it look real? I will try to send out papers for that maybe tomorrow, because then I'm going to be on the road for 2 days. So I will do my best. At least if we get it before we meet up next week, that would be good. All right, I'm going to start with this house here, because it's basically that first federal house is kind of like a box we've been doing. right? So I'm gonna do a quick little sketch and I'm gonna freehand this. You can use straight edges if you want. I think I packed mine already, so that's out. So let me put this, let me try this for you folks. I tried to screen share from my iPad, but I don't think I can do that. All right, I gotta move that out of the way. Oh, I can't do that. Never mind, my bad. I was gonna draw on here, but it's, I need it to be in Procreate to do that. So here we have, our line of sight is coming here, correct? Our horizon line will be about, we're up a little high. We're kind of up a little high. Even though the mountains are back here, that could be at a different height than the actual horizon. If that were the ocean, then it would be exactly at our horizon line. So we can't count on those mountains necessarily. But as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking we are almost there. We're right about at this level. So we're on a hill looking down on this building. So we'll say that that's that. So we're going to look, here's our line of sight coming in. This is perpendicular to our line of sight. This is where I run into trouble because my tripod is right where my hand needs to be. And we're a little off kilter here. So even though we're coming at this, this is that closest corner to us. That is that corner right there. I'm eyeballing that height. I know my horizon line is going to be about here. So this is where it hits the ground. This point is this point of that corner. And this point is where it hits the roof. If you were out on location drawing this, that's when you would be able to do this measuring thing. You lock your elbow, so it's always the same distance from your eye. And then you would, remember I kind of did this with the frame behind me. You hold the top and then you measure down with your thumb how far down it is. And you go like, okay, it's about that. And how wide is it to that? And you're always doing ratios. It's not exact measurements, it's ratios. Like if this is the height of this building from here, about how wide is it? That same height. So I'd be looking, I'm seeing what's spotlighted. Okay. If I touch this, it's going to change. There's the bottom corner of the house to the top corner of the house. How far over from this corner is this corner? This is my unit of measure. I come that way, 1 and about a half. So about this distance, sorry, it's because my tripod's in the 1 and a half. So that other corner should be right about there. See how I measured that? Can you see that okay? So I have this corner, and now I have the distance to this corner. I'm now going to, that's the distance. Now I'm going to estimate the angle of the base of the house here. I keep touching the screen, it keeps flipping. And it's a very small angle. Right? I'm measuring from the base here, this angle right here. Now, by knowing that angle, that is going to go way, you can see my vanishing point now is going to be off the paper way over here somewhere. So I have to estimate that. To determine this other angle, we can't see the back of that because the chimney's in the way. So we have to estimate, how is that going back? We kind of see through and we think, okay, that back corner is probably right about there. Put that right about there. We can also do the same thing, the height to how far away that edge is. It's about half of the height. And now this will give us the vanishing point for anything that's parallel to this baseline on this building. And the top of the roof to that top of the roof should be there. So it should be going back that way. So now we have the shadowed side of the house. Again, this other side, we have to estimate over here. We know it's at least parallel to this line and slightly converging because our vanishing point's way over here, way over to the side. So we have to estimate it. We know the height here. So now we have the beginning of our good cube of the house. I'll keep going because you can practice this. Now we estimate, here's the height. How is that in comparison to how high the roof is? About half. So the peak of our roof here is about half this height. So I'm eyeballing it, right? I'm kind of eyeballing it. And then we know that the peak of the roof is parallel to the front of the house, which are these two lines. So we'll go way off to this other vanishing point over here. That way. So this is the peak of the roof. But where is, again, the chimney's in the way, but where do these two slants of the roof meet? We use our geometry. Sorry, Pamela, but it's just a little geometry. I always kind of like geometry. I could do algebra, but I like geometry because it was drawing. So to find that, because we know it's going to be in the middle of that side, from the side view, the house looks like this. That's this shadowed side of the house is this. So we need to find where this point is, that peak point. How are we going to do that? We are going to dissect, well, nicely, we will dissect this square, and that will give us the center. So we go from corner to corner, and then that's the center. We do a vertical line straight up. That's going to give us the angle of the peak of the roof. If you notice, the angle of the peak of the roof is a little different. This angle is different than that angle because it's an illusion that we're creating. We know that the far side of the roof is parallel to this line. So we want a line that's going to be parallel there. Boom. House. Right? We basically created the illusion of the house. P, that's my vanishing point. That's my horizon. My other vanishing point is way over there somewhere. Now we know all these windows and stuff will all go to the same vanishing point that the front of the house does.
Hey, Terry,
Yes,
can you show me on the original drawing where the line of sight is?
we usually go, sorry, it's
On the original, not on yours.
on here.
Yeah, just where is the line of sight on that? Print.
We're looking at it this way,
Okay. All
because
right.
we always kind of start with that nearest corner because that's our unit of measure and location and everything. So we're looking here, and then there's that perpendicular line to it.
Okay, that's what I missed. All right, thanks.
So once we have those, and all of these are going off to that same vanishing point, and I'm sorry because it's far off the paper, then you know that the windows fit in there. Oh, the same thing, the middle of the, what if the house, sorry, the door is in the middle of the house? We dissect this side, we know where the middle of that side of the house is. So the windows on this side are going to, on the left, are going to be smaller than the windows on the right because they're going back in space, like the same way we did with the railroad tracks. I mean, if you really want to get, you know, perfect, you can measure this all out, but let's not. Let's, just so you understand the concept, you know, these are getting smaller and closer together as they go back in distance. And the tops of the chimney too, like the top of this chimney, that's a cube coming off back of the house. The top of it is going to go to this vanishing point, the same as the roof line. And this part is going to go the same vanishing point as these guys. You'll see even the chimney has a little bit of an angle there. Does that show? The chimney's angled as well. I'm going to do a quick drawing of this one next. When you're, or I can wait. I should wait. I'm going to do a walkthrough as you guys are drawing, if you don't mind, on this next little stone cottage. Yeah. This is the corner closest to me. So that's going to be my original line. The cube. I will estimate this line. My horizon line is here, so that'll go back to that horizon line from this corner back to that vanishing point on the horizon line. So step by step, this is also, this line is parallel to this line that's behind the bushes and this. So I will just kind of draw this a little quickly as an example, so you can look at it later. All right. Again, we're not looking down on this house. This house, we're standing and we're pretty much on the same level plane. So our eye is right about where it would be on the door and stuff. So I'm going to use this corner. I would say 2/3 is below my horizon line and about 1/3 is above. So here's my horizon line. And I'm just kind of estimating. That's my horizon line, the top of my pen. And that's that. I then estimate the angle that this goes off that way. And I can estimate the angle that this one goes off more quickly this way. So just like drawing our cubes, I now have my basis, my foundation. I compare the height to the approximate width of this, maybe 1.5, sort of, not quite. Top of this corner down to my vanishing point. I can see already that I did not measure the length of this right. It looks too long then, so I'm gonna adjust that now. Adjust it in the beginning. If I kept going with that, and then I started shading it and putting all the details on it, it would never look right for the rest of its existence. And I'm trying to keep this on the paper, so it might not be exactly like this. From here, from this point down to the horizon line will give me the front of the house angle. Offset window. That. I will now find the peak of the roof by dissecting that. What's that called? A rhomboid? So there's the center of the rectangle. I draw it up. I now estimate the height of the roof compared to this side. I estimate the height of the roof. I'm going to say it's right about there. So that angle. That'll give me the pitch of the roof, and this is way too close. So you can see just one line at a time. Just think, what is it parallel to and where is its vanishing point? Now I'm estimating from this side to this corner to the right beside the front door. So start with the simplest. Start with the simplest and then build up from that. Like this overhang on the front porch. It's a little more complex, right? But we need to get this other form in there first. From this corner, it comes out slightly. What I'm looking at now is this section. Now, behind these grassy bushes here, that line is parallel to the line over here. So they need to go to the same vanishing point. It needs to go to the same spot that this is. So it brings it out from that house. See how it's popping out now? And then from the base of that goes back to the other vanishing point. So somebody's actual bird? That's wonderful.
Yeah, it belongs outside. It is outside.
It's interesting. When you're making YouTube videos and stuff, you have to be very careful about the copyright of music. Even some, what they call free music. So I'll often just go out back when it's early morning, and I've recorded birds for like a long time, and I have my own bird recordings. So that's in the background.
I thought that bird, I kept looking out my window to see, where is that bird? Is there something sitting on the wire out here? But it's one of your birds, huh? What, is it yours, Pam, did you say?
Well, I think it is. My porch doors are open and we have a bird feeder that the whole neighborhood loves.
Oh, gotcha.
So
So
we have quite a collection of songsters.
okay, but it's not, so it's not a pet bird.
No, it's not a pet bird.
Okay, gotcha.
And it doesn't want to be one.
And you don't want it to be one, right?
I have 8 nests going.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh my, how cute. Are
That's
the babies
exciting.
there?
There's 4 in birdhouses, 1 in a gourd, 2 up in the gutters, and 1 in my garage.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
I know.
Do you know what kind they are? Or do you don't know?
Bluebirds, wrens, sparrows.
Oh, you got baby bluebirds. Oh.
Yes, yep. I have bluebird houses. Yeah, it's a bird metropolis around here.
Oh my goodness. So that's pretty awesome.
It is, because no mosquitoes
Oh, true.
Where do you live, Donna?
in Weaverville.
Oh, nice. Okay.
We're going to be renting a little house in Weaverville for a couple months while the kitchen's being renovated. We just drove
Oh,
yesterday to check it out.
Nice.
It's just past, well, actually, Jean Carpin will know exactly where it is because she lives in Weaverville and her husband owns the Carpin in what industry? I don't remember. It's right next to the
okay.
pottery place there. But anyway, so it's about a half a mile from there.
One corner.
Well, you'll get lots of birds.
I bet it looks pretty country out there.
I'm right in the middle of town, but we have
Oh.
almost an acre.
Oh, nice.
Great.
Yeah. I think downtown Weaverville is just so dang cute.
Mm-hmm.
It was really I went there about a week or a half ago to go to the quilt store, and the downtown area was so crowded though. It was,
Yeah.
maybe it's the tourists right now. I don't know. I hadn't seen
Yes,
It's
of
a little
course.
town, you have to. So you can see how all the vanishing point, just figure out what's parallel to what. And this roof here line is just an anomaly. It's kind of there. So you have to, in comparison to this roof line, it kind of comes off at, I don't know, this angle.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that far side also goes at that same angle. Then where that connects goes to that vanishing point that the peak of the roof does, and the same with this. So that kind of gives you that overhang angle of that. So this, at this point, it's kind of tight, but it gives you that, again, sorry to repeat myself, but the foundation of something you can build on and know that's working and has a solidity to it that's going to help your work feel stronger.
That's great, Terry. Thank you. Terry Lynn.
Yeah. What? Oh, just close that. So neither one of you got to try these, right?
Right.
Okay. Anyway, please don't get too hung up on the house perspectives and stuff, but it will help you when you're doing, because a lot of times when we're doing paintings and stuff, we have houses in it. And you don't want your house looking like, oh, here's my house that, you know, it was. See, I can't help myself. I'm actually making it look pretty there, unless you want to be cubist, and then you can do that. Well, what else? I was going to wait for next week, but I think I have a little bit of time to do this. Any comments, any thoughts while I'm looking up what I want to look up?
No, I was completely lost on the last house.
I was moving rather
disaster.
quickly, keeping in the back of my head that you can, you know, watch again
Yeah,
on the
that's
video.
true.
Hopefully.
Okay.
I am looking for. Yeah, let me just show this quickly. This is not exactly what I was looking for, but wait, sorry. Okay. Because of these container shape ideas that you can take your cubes and spheres and things like that. What did I share? The whole screen sharing? Yes, okay. I showed you this before. This helps with the measurement of a figure. You can apply this to figures. You can apply this to almost anything. I think we went through some of these. There's different approaches to it. There's measurements for the human figure. You can go on to this, you know, Da Vinci. There was a whole group of them trying to find the perfect, put the human figure into the perfect mathematical form. And he got the closest, I think. Interesting, part of his strength was that if you notice, this foot, the left foot on the man, is at different angles instead of most of the people just drawing it straight on. Da Vinci had this way of investigating and studying and doing things at slightly different angles. This is, we talked about negative space, the space between objects. This drawing is almost all that, but still thinking that full dimension, the three-dimensional stuff. Here's cubes. You take different cubes, put them together. You put them at different angles. If the head is this way, you know, and it's a cube, what if it's looking down? You can put the head in a cube. You can have a head in the cube this way, and it can help you draw even something as complex as a human figure. There's a Dürer drawing, horses, all of these, even Picasso, the understanding of the form is still there. This almost looks like he based it on a sphere and another sphere here, and then cylinder and cylinder. And he's done it so often that it's in his head. Even this, it looks like a simple line drawing, but you can feel that solidity of the three-dimensional form in there. The larger areas and then breaking down smaller and smaller and smaller. But yes. That wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for, I just closed it. Am I still on? Screen share is off now? Yes. Okay. I wanted to show you this. Oh yeah, here we are. I think I showed you this, but I'd like to show you again. And turn on, here we go. Now I showed you the human figure. That gets rather complex, but here we're going to maybe apply it to pets or something. So get a nice sphere for the head, an elongated sphere. Did I use this guy before? Did I just go over him, ladies?
No,
Okay.
no.
And you know, a short cylinder. That's a different one. Here's one. So you can start to see putting even something like animals into these forms. I am going to draw this, and I can send you this too if you'd like. All right. So if I wanted to draw that dog, and this is kind of a little extra for you, I would look at him and say, his angle, this is his back. I'm going to kind of put him in a shape. I'm kind of measuring as we did early on. His head's up a little bit. And I'm just kind of placing him on the paper. Now I want three-dimensionality. I can see, if I think, as we did earlier on, the a cylinder. So this is around his neck, This is near the top of his head. And that's kind of that, can you see the cylinder there?
Mhm.
So, and then his head, it's kind of a sphere laying over that cylinder. And then there's a kind of a truncated cone almost here for his muzzle. So I'm taking each aspect of his body and putting it into what we call like our container shapes, those shapes that we can do. His body overall is basically, again, kind of a cylinder. So I'm thinking from his shoulders down to his butt. Here. It gets a little smaller as it goes down, but basically there's my cylinder and the dog is going to kind of fit inside of that. His haunch is like an egg shape. So it's a flattened sphere. And then his legs are like two little cylinders coming up. And by thinking this way, your drawing is going to have more three-dimensionality to it. It's not just going to look kind of flat. I want the angle. So this cylinder is coming down at this angle. Top and bottom of that one. So you can take almost anything. And what I'd like to do for next week is have you bring a couple of your own drawings or something that you want to work with. I'll send you something too, but if you have something specific you'd like to work with. So now I can connect these shapes. Thinking shoulders, little dip in the back, little butt here. But I already have the basic form of the dog, and I know it's going to be solid and have a good three-dimensional feeling. And all I've done is drawn cylinders and spheres. And you guys can do that. I've seen you do it.
Mhm.
Placement of the eyes, that ear, fur, his chest comes out a little bit. But by having that solid form, you can see how quickly I'm doing this. I mean, it takes a little while. The more practice you do, the better it comes. Check my angles. And his fluffy tail. Fluffy tail. But there, it's kind of, you get a nice three-dimensional feel by using those shapes,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And you can practice and use that with almost anything. Whew. Same with the cat. Let me do a quick cat. If I get on the back here. Cat, he's more horizontal. I should turn the paper sideways, which I can do because I don't need that. Or maybe I can't. There, all right. I have that Himalayan cat. He's got a big sphere up here, and the sphere will help me know. Let me do the other, well, I'm going to tilt his face slightly. So if I know the sphere is, here's this way, but he's looking off at a little bit of an angle, I can do the center of his face here. Big fat cylinder because he's got a fat neck. It's not, his neck isn't really fat, it's the fur. A big sphere for his body. You know, so what I'm doing, and I check the angle of this and that cylinder for his foot coming off. And now I can kind of combine and join my form. Oh, he's got his little ears coming off here. I know you can't see the sketch I'm working from, I apologize. But because I know this is the center of his face, then and I'm making this up because he's looking actually straight on at me.
Hmm.
Then this eye goes back that way and this one will come more out here. A little bit of a nose, a little bit of a mouth. But then by knowing that, by taking a sphere and saying this is the center and this is the center that way, you can then, knowing that it's, remember coming round at you and away from you and everything, you can take these central lines and say, well, I want this going that way and I want it looking down. So say if there's eyes here, now the eyes are looking down by just putting it within a sphere. Very simply.
Cool.
So next week, maybe some shading to make it look finished. If you get a chance, and I know everyone is so busy, try to practice some of the things we've done, if you get a chance. If not, like I said, I'm here and you can email me or you can put things up on the Padlet. Yep. Here I've done it. So many P's, I keep doing that. I think this has been a lot for you ladies to absorb, right?
Mhm.
So I can feel the energy kind of down, which I understand. Try to practice these. Again, just what lines are parallel to what lines? What shape will work for this object? Cubes and spheres are the most common ones. You can make almost anything out of those.
Hey, Terry Lynn,
Yes, ma'am.
could you finish that cat?
Oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh, I think I,
Oh, it's over there.
Let's see,
oh,
where is your spotlight? Let's see. I thought I was still on there. Hold on.
I've got two spotlights.
Oh my
Did
goodness.
not only one spotlight showing up?
There it is.
you are.
There you go.
That's weird. On my screen, it has two spotlights side by side.
Huh.
So,
I know, it's always fun to watch Terry Lynn just whip out a drawing in like 2 seconds that would take most of us like forever and make
Yeah,
me
you-
look like a cat.
you know how long this took me to do this, right?
Do what? You mean you learn your skills?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it, it looks like it's 5 minutes, but it's like 45
know,
years.
I know.
Wait a minute. Tell me what you're doing with that cylinder. What'd you just do?
Oh, I'm looking at it. The trick with this cat is he's got so much fur on him, it's hard to see. So his leg actually starts up in here, but I can't see that on the drawing. And then it comes down to like his elbow-ish kind of area.
Mhm.
You know how they are? So there's another cylinder. And then there's a little cylinder heading off this way. So I'm kind of looking at the angle of it. And then his little paw is like a hemisphere. So that's that cylinder down to the, and then his little paw there, his little elbow, his little wrist. And then the other one is kind of behind that. It sits in behind, comes down to the elbow, but I can't see all of that. So what I can see is that hemisphere. So it looks a little smaller because it's further away. Well, it's not quite that small. I shouldn't have done it that small. And then his haunch here is basically covered by his tail is so furry, it takes up like this much stuff. So you can't really see his haunch or his back paw. There's a little hint of his back paw, and it needs to set on the surface at the same as the other paws that way. Then you could kind of like, oh, he's furry, you know, and we start, remember those beginning lines that we did? I'm holding back further now, and kind of twisty lines, heavy weighted lines at the base. So you can do a variety of things to make him look furry. But think about it. Don't just start like throwing lines everywhere. You know, try to think Okay, it's a little shorter here. It's a little darker here in the middle. So you're actually not just throwing lines at it, but creating interest. Now that I have this under the face, I can adjust that if I wanted to. That's not the right face because I have him looking straight on at me and I'm trying to remember what the nose would look like at this angle. And I can't find it. Oh, there it is. And if you wanted, you could do like the nose is a little cone. Think about the angle of the base of the cone. That's the angle of the base of the cone. There's the cone. That will give you the shape. Get a little chunky. They're not really his cheeks. There's where his whiskers come off, that little area. So I'll think little spheres in here and a little sphere where his chin is maybe. And yeah, there he goes. So now you know, because of those basic fundamental shapes, it'll give you an idea where his nose is, where his whiskers come off. It's kind of a funny looking kitty, but I just
Oh,
want
it looks great.
some little rough idea how you could work this
Yeah, it's really helpful. Thank you.
and play around with it, you know?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Oof.
Mhm.
Good job, Terry Lynn.
I know it's a little early, but
Are
I'm
you,
kind of,
are you guys toast? Are you ready to call it a day, a morning?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Lot to process.
Yeah,
It
there's a
is.
lot of information. We were,
Yep.
when we went for that, you guys went for that little break, Terry Lynn and I were talking about how nice, particularly for a drawing or other fine arts class, it is to have a recording because you can
Mhm.
take it in and not worry if you're getting overwhelmed. And you just go back
Right.
later at your own pace. So,
Yeah. Okay.
all right, any,
so it's quite a bit on the perspective, but you now have at least that foundation to build on,
Mhm.
but don't get too
Yeah.
crazy about it.
It was fun. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Terry Lynn.
You're welcome. So next week we'll do some shading. If you have some of your own photographs, one or two that you'd like to try, you can do the basic and then we'll talk about shading, but I'll also go back to some basic forms, like how, now that we have the sphere and the cube and the cone, how do we shade them? And then again, you can apply that to any object.
Okay. Have safe travels back.
Oh, thank you. You guys have a great afternoon.
thank
Okay.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.